Good evening, everybody. We'll call the Monday, September 20th, 2021 District Board of Directors meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Betty Brusky Malik, Kristen Kraft, here. Craig Gerlach, Scott Graholski,
Here.
Richard Mernon,
Here.
Linnea Miller,
Here.
Gordon Shallow, Charles Spargo,
Here.
Ari Vang.
Open meeting certification. This September 20th, 2021 meeting of the Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors and all other meetings of the board and or its committees is open to the public in compliance with state statutes. Notice of this meeting has been sent to the news media and designated persons in an attempt to make the citizens of the Mid-State Technical College District aware of the time, place, and agenda of the meeting. Open forum. The open forum is at the option of the board chairperson, and the ground rules have been established to ensure the orderly conduct of business. This is a meeting of the district board open to the public and not a public hearing. Persons who wish to address the district board may make a statement as long as it pertains to the specific agenda item. Individuals should not expect to engage in discussion with the members of the district board. Angie, do we have anybody here? We need to get an approval on the board meeting minutes for the August 16th, 2021, as shown in Exhibit A.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Anyone opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Used to it.
I have to get a roll call on that. Okay. Can I get an approval on the consent agenda item? Contracted services agreements and the procurement of goods and services, and district boards of approval, hires and resignations of contracted staff.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that.
All in favor? Can I get a roll call vote on that?
Kristen Kraft,
Yes.
Scott Graholski,
Yes.
Richard Mernon,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo,
Yes.
Okay, the chairperson's report. Welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. Gordy, Betty, and Craig asked to be excused from the meeting. The legal issue seminar, the Fall Board Associations meeting, is going to be held October 27th to the 30th. It's going to be held virtually this year. All the information will be shared when it becomes available to us. The ACCT Leadership Congress that is held every year in San Diego is now going to be held virtually. No mid-state board members or staff are going to participate due to COVID, due to changes in COVID requirements. At your desks or at your places, we have a nice binder for the board advance, which will be held September 28th. Angie has put together all of our meeting materials. In there, I'd like everybody to kind of look through them a little bit. We have a nice section on the evaluations. We're going to spend a little bit of time on that. So I'm just asking all the board members just to review what we do currently at Midstate and what we do, what Fox Valley is doing, because I'd like us to really kind of spend some time on that for our board advance. We'll begin our day at the Healthcare Simulation Center and then move over to Wisconsin Rapids. You do not have to go to the Healthcare Simulation Center if you've already toured it, unless you want to go ahead and do that again. It's really worth it. It's a lot of fun. Our next meeting date will be Monday, October 18th. We'll meet here at the Wisconsin Rapids campus. Committee of the whole weekend at 4:30 with a regular meeting to follow. With that, we'll move on to the President's report. Dr. Shelley Monday.
Thank you, Kristen. For the new board members, we are on page 4. If you do have the board agenda, that may help you just guide as to what's coming and what's coming next. So you'll see that I always follow Kristen, just giving you a president report regarding campus activities, community involvement, WTCS updates, and then President Association activities. So I do want to begin by telling you that we want to recognize 2 recent retirees. I believe that Angie is going to be bringing this up so we can show you their pictures. So our first retiree is a lady by the name of Liz. And Liz has been here 35 years. So Liz Hassett, she has been an academic specialist. And I don't know how we're going to survive without Liz, I'll be honest with you. She's just really a backbone when it comes to our curriculum reporting and just making sure she's really kind of that conduit between our college and the state. I'm very happy to say, though, that we were able to, she gave us many months to let us know before she retired. So we were able to fill her position, which is, I think, just, it really gave her about a month to be with a new person. So we're happy for Liz, but sad to see her go. As we saw her right before she left and said, please don't be a stranger. So, but we look forward to her, all the things she's going to accomplish and retire. So our other person is Deb Krings. And Deb has been here, you can see, 14 years, I believe, full-time, and then 4 years of some additional, maybe part-time work. She is a nursing simulation specialist. So she was our person who got to work with the nurses and really set up our simulation center over Wisconsin Rapids. So again, we're sad to see Deb go, but wish her the best. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledged both of those individuals. Unfortunately, neither one was able to be here tonight, but I wanted to take the time to call them out. For other campus activities, just a couple things I want to mention is on August 16th, which was last week, Thursday, kind of a big day, we had a K through 12 counselor breakfast here on campus. So we had 17 high school counselors here where we are able to inform them about what's going on at Mid-State, new programming, and I just have to really give kudos to Mandy and the people that put the agenda together. We have a new program starting, culinary. So what they did is they took our counselors to our new culinary kitchen, and our chef showed them some knife skills, and they were able to make their own omelets. So what a great engagement activity. The counselors loved it. I think what better way for them to learn about what's going on at Mid-State, but for them to really experience a new program, because we always know that sometimes that's a missing link, right? Do the counselors at the high schools know directly what's happening at Mid-State? And this started probably, gosh, Mandy, is this maybe our second or third time?
I think our third or, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was really something new that we had started because we usually have a superintendent meeting, or maybe we would have a high school principal meeting, but we thought we need to really get down to that counselor level to make sure that they know the latest and the greatest. And I think that's been a great decision. On the same day, we had our scholarship award ceremony for the foundation, and that is always a great event. We offered it in person and then had live streaming options as well. It's always nice to see the happiness and the pride on the recipient's face that night. And thank you, Rick. I think you were able to attend that event, but just well done. Jill and all the people that support Jill with that event. Just a great one. I don't know if you have any comments, but.
I was very impressed with Jill's ability to go through all the names and pronounce all the names, and
Yeah.
very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
And it's nice to meet some of the students too and see what they're doing.
Yeah, we try to get people out. So she does a great job of just keeping it rolling. So it was just a great event. Great event.
When I was on the foundation, that used to take over 3 hours.
Oh gosh, and now we're out in about an hour, I think. Yeah, so they've done some really great process improvement things. Just, yeah.
And really impressive, a couple of the candidates, one of them had $4,000 in scholarships. Another one had $3,600 in scholarships. But to see the breadth and the variety of the different scholarships that the students were achieving is really neat.
Yeah, yeah. And I just think they always highlight a few of the stories, and they have the backdrop where people can get their picture taken with the donor, and yeah, just a great event. Those are the things that we know we're in the right place, right, when we feel warm and fuzzy there. So for community involvement, I've been involved over the last month in many manufacturing campaign meetings. just to, again, to try to spread the word about what we're trying to do. I also had the pleasure of meeting the new president from Lakeland University, Lakeland College, Dr. Elizabeth Beth Borgen. She came to meet me because you may know that here in Wisconsin Rapids, they do have one of their satellite campuses. And so we got to sit down and talk about maybe some co-marketing recruitment efforts in the future, and maybe something that they've asked me in the past about would I be okay with having them have a small sign on campus, which I'm very much okay with. So just great conversation with Beth. You did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're a great institution. They do so well by our students. So it's nice to have this option here. I didn't know that. Also, Midstate had a large presence at the Marshfield Fair. We tried to be out and about, and I need to give kudos to the Marshfield staff and the K through 12 outreach team. We had our cow simulator there. We had our Midstate coloring pages. We had displays. I know I was able to go out and spend a few hours one of the days, and just outstanding. I mean, it was, what we want to do for our local communities. And I know we put out a good presence for that event. So again, that takes a lot of work, but I'm so proud that the staff had done that. Also wanted to let you know, in case you hear, that Aspirus Inc. has asked me to serve on one of their quality subcommittees, which I'm really honored to be asked to do that. This would be for Aspirus, the large umbrella. And this would be a one-year term. And what that commitment means is that it would be attending a meeting every other month. And I have graciously accepted that. So I think with our relationship with Aspirus, and they also know I have a healthcare background and bringing healthcare and education together. So you may hear about that. From a WTCS update, just again, that last week I did attend the state board meeting. It was well attended. It was at Madison College, and it was at their new campus, which is called their Goodman South Campus. What a beautiful campus. It's right off of Highway 12 and 18. And this campus was really built on mirroring really the ethnicity in South Madison. So really taking all of the DEI elements and bringing that campus to life for that community. So Southern Madison is known more as the more poverty district of Madison, more African American individuals, and definitely walking through the corridors, you could see the ethnicity being brought out. Just really well done. Native American, it was a wow. It was really wow. I took many different pictures and brought back to share with our diversity, equity, inclusion individuals. One of the things I know Karen has shared that I'm really excited is they did a tribute to the land that the campus is on, going back to the Native American heritage, and just some really neat things that I know we're going to incorporate here as well. We had many updates during the state board meeting, which is one of the normal things that are done. But something that was different was Betty was there, because Betty got to do the District Boards Association update. And she's not with us, but I need to tell you, she did a great job. She did a great job. And so that's always nice. And then also the student kind of ambassador, student life ambassador for all 16 colleges is a Midstate student. So we not only had Betty from Midstate doing the update, but then we had our Midstate student, and so we were well represented. There were really two topics that were covered on the state board meeting. One had to do with the DEI effort that Madison College is doing, and the other one had to do with early childhood education and how having not many childhood education centers, so when you think of daycares, how that really is becoming a workforce issue for the state of Wisconsin. And they talked about how there are pockets through the state of Wisconsin where there's just not enough daycare providers, and how that's being detrimental. And I'm happy to tell you, we do have an early child care program here, but it was really about how they're trying to increase the number of graduates, getting more people into that program so they can try to be out there working for either agencies or trying to put it with the business entrepreneurship for them, maybe to be able to start their own daycare. So that was really a kind of an aha, I guess. When you think of what's all the things that attribute to a workforce shortage, you might not always think about, gosh, it's because there's not places where people can take their children. And so that was
That was highlighted in the state, one of the, or two of the state newspapers today, the childcare worker shortage.
It was just they did a great job of talking about that.
We had a Rotary Club had a tour of the YMCA, the new YMCA here in town,
Yeah.
not 2 Thursdays ago. And one of the points was that we saw their beautiful childcare, different classes, and each one of the classes was at capacity and had a 20-person waiting list.
Mhm.
You know, so that was an indication of, wow, the need for that quality childcare.
They not only offer a program, but they do have at one of their campuses for Madison College, they do have an on-site childcare center as well. And they talked about that for their population, this is something that they felt they needed to do, and they wanted to grow the program, so they wanted to have their own clinical site for internship site. So they're doing that, but they were saying that they're getting to the point that even before people are expecting, they're putting their name on the wait list.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that really just shows the severity. And we're talking about these pockets in Wisconsin that they're childcare deserts, is what they're saying, that they just, and that was kind of a new term. I can't say that I had heard that before. And then last Friday as well, the Wisconsin Leadership Development Institute, you will hear us call it WILDE. And WILDE is a 1-year leadership professional development opportunity that the WTCS really embraces. It's been going on for many years. I can tell you I'm a WILDE graduate. And each year we like to send 1 or 2 of our leaders to participate in this program. And our own Brad Russell graduated along with Natasha Miller, who is our person who organizes our student life and our graduation. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. Because of COVID, it turned out to almost be 1.5 years, Brad, or almost 2 years. So they got a little bit longer just because they couldn't really have their graduation last, and they've been just troopers. So there is going to be a new cohort, and we again are going to participate. We're going to send 2 of our leaders again, and that will be Ryan Koski, who's one of our academic deans, who's working on the manufacturing project, and then Jackie Esselman, who is our manager of K through 12 and adult recruitment. So what that means is they really do have a 1 week of leadership training. They actually have to put together kind of their own individual development plan. There's things that they do during the year. They have to name a mentor, and then they officially graduate. And the hope is that it will only give them additional skills in their own leadership journey, and you really pick people that you believe are really those people that will continue to keep the technical college system strong. So I'm really glad that as a college we participate in that professional development. And then the last category that I have is the WTCS President's Association activities. So in alignment with the WTCS State Board last week, we also had our president's meeting, and we did that in person, which was really nice to kind of get back together. And it was a complete review of structures that we did it especially for the new presidents, but it's good for all 16 of us to hear it. So there was all the leaders from state grants to outcome-based funding to the WTCS Purchasing Consortium, Layla from the Boards Association. All of these leaders of all these different groups had about 15 minutes on our agenda. And they came in and provided a handout to kind of say, this is what this organization does, this is the purpose, this is the funding. So that way, as a new president, when you start getting a $5,000 bill here and a $15,000 bill here, it could really give them a very good foundation of what's all these things that they're hearing about. So we had a really good president's meeting. Our next president's meeting will be November 10th. So we did go back onto the schedule where we are meeting every other month. So, and many times it does coincide with the state board meeting. So that would end my president's report unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Shelley. We'll move on to our committee reports. The Finance and Infrastructure Committee with Dr. Fargo.
Okay, we've already addressed the consent agenda items, so I'll move on to the Treasurer's Report in Exhibit F of the board packet. On page 17, you'll see the budget notifications made in the month of August. The notifications are changes to the budget, but they're not formally adopted now. They're just a notification to us that this will be coming up. Twice a year, we get a formal listing of all of the budget modifications needed for formal approval of the board. This is just saying this is coming up. we've made these adjustments to the budget that will be presented to us later for approval. So we've got $275,000 roughly of additional revenue and $349,000 of additional budgeted expenses. Our budgeted fund balance dropped by $74,000. And that's primarily due to the first line item, various WAT grants, established budgets. It's not really establishing a budget, it's really correcting a budget that was overstated last month. So this is just undoing the addition that was made last month. And Greg can provide more detail if anyone's interested. The next page shows those budget changes, how it affects our budgeted revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity, the current budget for fiscal year 2022. So by fund, and going back to the budget notifications, they were all in Fund 1. So on this sheet, the only change would be in the column of Fund 1, General Operations and Grants. So we've got $275,000 more revenue, $349,000 more expenses, and the change in fund equity following it down to the bottom there would decrease by $74,000 roughly. So that's an update to the budget year to date. The next page, page 19, shows what our current actuals are doing. We received in August $5.3 million in revenue, and we had, I think, $4.1 million in expenses. The revenue we've received to date or recognized is 14% of our annual budget, and the expenses are 14.4% recognized or expended year to date. The year to date expenditures exceed the revenue by roughly $900,000. The next page is the last page of the financial report. And it just shows our balance sheet. And the main item to point out here is the cash and investments. They total $23.3 million, which compares to $22.9 million last year. So it's very comparable. Any questions on the Treasury Report?
Is the fiscal year July to June, or is it?
Yes. Yeah, so the budget was adopted for July 1 through June 31st of next year. Yep. So we're two months in with this. Next on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds not to exceed $1 million on general obligation promissory notes, and Greg will talk us through this.
Thank you, Chuck. Today we are requesting the board to approve a resolution authorizing the college to issue not to exceed $1 million of debt known as Series 2021B. You may recall in May and June board meetings that we issued $4.4 million in notes labeled 2021A. The additional authorization will complete the fiscal year 2021-22 borrowings, providing the financing for this year's capital projects. You should have received a hypothetical long-term financing plan via email or placed in front of you at your table. I could direct your attention to the middle columns. It looks something like this. And sorry, hopefully it'll come up on the screen in a couple seconds. There's colors on it. Blue colors has buried in the top right-hand corner. You will see that this borrowing is for $1 million, and the repayment schedule is over a 3-year period. When we take that into consideration with the original borrowing of $4 million in June of this year, that will bring our financing plan to a 10-year debt service plan. If you look at the last column or the right-hand side of the page, you'll notice the college is trying to have minimal impact on the stakeholders, by keeping the debt service payment pretty consistent. And as you see, it's about $6,657,000 this coming year. Now that may go up or down a couple $1,000 depending on what happens at the sale in October, excuse me, for the tax levy that will be issued in October. The next step is, after this authorization, a resolution to authorize the issuance of debt, we'll come back to you in October for the awarding of the debt, at which time the Barrett associate will be here. Jim will be here from Barrett explaining more of the financing plan to you. Is there any questions?
What is the cost for an issuance? You know, what is Baird, what are we paying Baird to do this?
Between the Barrett, Associated Bank, and the other financing organizations, we actually have some bond premium. And so very rarely do we have any out of pocket. It's just that we have less bond premium and a little less interest income in the, so we'll receive our total $1 million, but we will receive about another $150,000 approximately of bond premium. And then our fees to them is about $25,000.
Thank you.
And for Scott and Ari, so our capital equipment that we borrow each year, know that we always plan together that we typically pay that back within 10 years. We did have is that fair to say, Greg? That's our
Yes.
plan. So just so you know, and each year we usually borrow anywhere between, 5 million is about the average. So sometimes we'll break it down into like, we'll borrow 4 million and then come back and borrow 1 million, or, and that's really Greg working with our accountants and things as to what is the best way to do it. But part of this is really showing you how we will pay it back and so forth, and know that the mill rate and all those other things that you're going to learn about, we want to make sure that we always keep the taxpayers in mind and so forth. But just kind of in your mind, know that it's usually between 5-6 million that we are borrowing, give or take each year. And then we do that plan for 10 years of paying it back. So, and Greg, you haven't met Greg yet, but Greg is our Chief Financial Officer. So he's the one that knows the numbers and works really closely with Chuck to be able to answer any questions. So you've heard me talk about how we have 3 committees for the board. And so Chuck is the person who is the lead of the finance committee. And as Krista works with you on your organizational planning, you'll be able to choose one of the committees. So if you have a interest possibly in knowing more of the financial piece, you might want to be on that committee. Or again, you're going to meet, Bobby, and you're going to meet Deb and Mandy, and again, can be on your interest or maybe the area that you want to learn. But Chuck is definitely the guru when it comes to the finance. So we so appreciate everything he does. But from a high level, you're always going to see that 4 to 6 million borrowing, and we pay it back every 10 years from a high level.
And Greg, maybe you could explain for the benefit of the new members, the reason we split it up has to do with state statutes and the limitations on borrowing.
Sure. As you were talking about earlier this evening, we have state statute that limits our borrowing abilities on a per issuance basis. We can borrow $1.5 million for remodeling per issuance. Since we went over $1.5 million of remodeling this year, which is mainly our culinary program, we had to go over 2 issuances.
So, I mean, ideally, we do it in one because it's more
Cost effective.
cost effective, but statutes prohibit us from doing that
Correct.
much remodeling.
Yep. And as you'll learn, I think through board events and through meetings, we have other statutory regulations that we must follow when we talk about our borrowings. Our new construction every year is $1.5 million, for example. So lots of little details that you'll learn over the next year or 2. But for tonight, we're looking for the resolution for authorizing the issuance of a promissory note not to exceed $1 million.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve the resolution shown in Exhibit H.
I'll second that.
And just so you would have known, we presented exactly what we were spending this money on to the complete board. So they've already seen the detail, and now it's just coming to say, okay, we're ready to get the money. So just so you know, it's not something that we just have this listing and you never know what we buy. So you would have that, we would be part of those conversations.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Kristen Kress,
Yes.
Scott Kroholski,
Yes.
Richard Murden,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, Chuck, I'll stay up here and we'll talk informational items and we'll give an update on our fiscal year 2021 year that just ended on June 30th. Our auditors were in-house last week for 3 days. It was a nice short period of time for us. They are back in their offices working on the audit. During that time, they had no questions that we're aware of it presently. And they'll be validating our information for the next 4 or 5 weeks. As long as they receive all of the needed information from WRS and a couple other outside sources that we have to include in our financial statements, we'll be looking at coming to the board in November for presentation of our fiscal year 2021 audit.
WRS is Wisconsin Retirement System.
Yes, acronyms is going to be an item that you'll have to learn over time. WRS is the Wisconsin Retirement System. Yes, thank you, Chuck. Any questions on our audit? If not, I'm going to let Matt Schneider, our project manager, capital budget manager, come up and talk about the energy report.
Good evening.
Evening.
Every year we bring you our energy report just to make you aware of what our energy usage was throughout the college. I do submit this to the state. It's not required for board approval. In front of you, you'll find a package. It consists of about 6 sheets. The 2 that I'm going to address tonight are basically our overall cost for the college for electrical and for natural gas. The rest of the sheets are more just for information. It's where some of this data is taken from. If you look at the first sheet, you'll see that we have presented, oops, I'm sorry, Angie, I didn't realize we weren't up there yet. My bad. Very good. That should match the first sheet you have in your handout. These are the electrical costs for the college for the entire fiscal year. So this would have been for years 2018 to 2019, 19 to 2021, the last 3 fiscal years that we've completed. You'll notice that the total electrical costs range from $311,000 to around $333,000. You also notice that they look disproportionate, but if you look in the top left there, it shows the square footages for each of the campuses, and that's that attributes to the differences. Wisconsin Rapids campus being 5 to 6 times larger than most of the others. So on the second page, you'll find our natural gas costs for the last 3 fiscal years. Those range from $59,000 to $89,000, again, for the entire college across the 3 campuses. And there too, you'll see the disproportionate gas usage as a function of the square footage. I did take a look at these relative to the heating degree days and the cooling degree days from the electrical. And they do vary, as you would expect, with the extremes in weather. When I say extremes, some summers are more severe or hotter, some winters are more cold. But they're consistent with the amount of heating degree days and cooling degree days for each of the fiscal years. What's more is when you look deeper into the data and look at the energy usage and costs per square foot, they're consistent with Department of Energy benchmarks for secondary education institutions like our own. So, and just wanted to present that all too. Does anyone have any questions?
Matt, why do you see such a drastic drop in Wisconsin Rapids campus for gas, but not the other campuses for 2020 to 2021?
Sure. Are you talking about for the cost or the consumption?
For the cost.
Yeah. So the way we buy natural gas is with a purchaser, and they purchase at different times of the year at what they project will be lower cost, or they try to buy it at a lower cost. I was actually asked this question earlier, which is interesting that you brought it up. If you look at the final 2 pages, you'll have your actual natural gas consumption and your natural gas costs. If you look at our natural gas consumption, it too again is consistent with the heating degree days. So I can give those to you actually. Yeah. So in 2018 to 2019, 8,600 heating degree days, and there was about 9,400. So it went up significantly in 1920, but then it was at its lowest last year from 20 to 21 at 7,400. So if you look at the consumption, you'll see that same thing. The first year is the midpoint, That middle year, the 1920, was our highest consumption. And then we dropped off to even lower than the first of the 3 years that I've shown. But if you look at the cost, that actually isn't the same way. While our consumption went down from 1920 to 2021, our cost went up. That again is to do with our broker that buys our natural gas on the open market. They try to make predictions, and those prices fluctuate considerably sometimes. So depending on conditions, fracking, different things that are being allowed or disallowed. So
Is it a different broker for the different campuses?
actually, they buy for, it's not different brokers, no. And they don't actually buy for all of our campuses. It's primarily Wisconsin Rapids. So
Okay,
yep, Adams is just through the line.
got it.
So
The Constellation?
yep. I believe it, Greg, you might have to, I think it was, but we changed to Blue Edge, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Are there any other questions?
Are you doing anything in terms of renewable energy?
Some, yes. We have solar panels here. This would be something interesting if that's something you're into. We, and I'll have to introduce you to one of our deans. We do have solar arrays here on this campus. If you've driven by the corner of 32nd and Washington, here within the last 2 years for sure, we put a actually solar car charging station. So if you drive an electric vehicle, you can charge your car here with the sun. We do have it backed up with metering. It's net metering too, so it spins our meter both ways. We have other solar arrays on this campus. We also just recently, within the last year, put some additional solar on our Stevens Point campus. So yeah, we do some with mostly solar. We don't do a whole lot with wind energy, but yes.
At the event last Friday, coming in, I saw there was a car that was plugged in. And I asked Ben if that was his car.
Probably
Of course it
was.
was.
To that point, we did recently, again, within the last, about the same time we did the solar car charging station, we put electric vehicle charging stations in all 4 of our campuses. So if people drive electric cars, they have a place to charge their car.
I know even with our manufacturing project, there's been the conversation, what can we do from a renewable energy standpoint? And I believe that prior to me, this had been a report that I believe it had been discussed, and we wanted to make sure it was an annual report that came to you, because that way, from a college standpoint, we're really looking at the data and saying, gosh, is that broker doing a good job? Are they not doing a good job? Are we, the questions that Matt was saying that he was asked this morning when we had seen the information, we asked the same thing, because I looked at, okay, it's up, and then I looked, we were talking about COVID year last year. You would think that would maybe be less, and we were having some good conversation about that. So
Yeah, something if we had
Yes.
some things like that in place. Know how much it saved us in terms of.
Right. I don't have that data with me right now, but it's something we definitely look into and get back to you with.
Matt, a couple of times you referred to heating and cooling degree days. I thought we'd gotten that in the past. I don't see that in my packet. Was that intended to be shared with us?
I can share it with you.
Okay.
I don't have it in this packet, no,
Okay.
but I do have those numbers written down just because as I was tracking, when it was that same question that you asked earlier, I started looking into that, and that wasn't the problem. I won't say problem. I dug deeper, and I'm realizing that we buy gas at 8 different rates and in different quantities at different times of the year. It's like dollar cost averaging. They try to buy more when they think it's a better price. So you may buy more gas than you actually need.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And if you want those checks, just let me know. I can get them for you. I have them for all the decade. So
I think we can do that as a follow-up, Matt.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead
exactly.
and pull that, and then we can go ahead and we'll send
Yep.
that out.
absolutely. Any other questions?
Thank you, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Greg. I think that concludes the Finance and Infrastructure Committee report.
Okay, so we'll move on to Academic and Student Services Committee with Dr. Deb Stencil.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is one of those committees, the Academic and Student Services Committee, and Mandy Lang and I share responsibility for providing updates in our respective areas. So I'm come to you from an academic standpoint, and Dr. Mandy Lang would come to you from a student services perspective. So tonight, all of the agenda items are mine, and I have quite a few. So I'm going to provide some background, so hopefully that will help our newest board members. So I have several items to share with you tonight. First, I'm going to share some programming updates and ask for your approval. All right, so this is a board responsibility. Anytime we want to make changes with our programs, either approving new programs or in this case, also suspending some programs. So from a programming update standpoint, just to let you know that the academic team does have an active 3-year product development plan that we're constantly looking at and updating. So on this product development plan, we would have some ideas for new associate degree and technical diploma programs, as well as certificates. We'd also have some kind of programs that we're watching and monitoring over time and making some decisions in terms of, okay, when is the time that we need to take some action on those. We also analyze our program based on a 5 rights exercise, and some of you have heard us talk about that. And that means that we look at our programs to make sure we have the right program with the right curriculum, offered at the right time, in the right modality, and at the right location or campus. All right, so we go through that exercise and really take that analysis into consideration. We take pride as a Wisconsin Technical College system that we can be nimble and that we can adjust our programming to meet need. So when we talk about need, we're talking about our student need as well as the needs of our business partners so that they have graduates that have the skills that are needed in the workforce. We also need to look at programs that also provide our students with that opportunity to have that seamless transition into a 4-year bachelor's program and really looking at that pathway, because we know there are some students who don't necessarily have a goal to go directly into the workforce, but their goal is to get that 4-year degree. So to be relevant, that means we need to always be looking at what new programs do we need to offer, but it also means that we sometimes have to look at programs and do we have to make some hard decisions and suspend some programs because maybe they're not relevant anymore. And in fact, our Higher Learning Commission liaison mentioned that recently to us, that they expect that we're constantly evolving our programming based on student and employer need. So they would expect us to be requesting new programs as well as suspending other programs and discontinuing programs that are no longer meeting need. So tonight I have 2 programs that I would like to request your approval to move forward with from a concept approval standpoint. And there are liberal arts programs. And I know that you heard an update from Dr. Suzanne Rathie back, I think, in February, gave us an update on our liberal arts program. So there are 2 liberal arts programs, the Associate of Arts and the Associate of Science liberal arts programs. So currently, state statute currently allows 3 colleges the ability to offer those programs. Right? It's Nicolet College, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and Madison College. 2 other colleges can confer the Associate of Science degree, and that's CVTC, Triple Valley, and Western Technical College. The rest of us either can't offer them independently, or we need to work with one of those colleges and have a shared program. And that's currently what we offer. We have a shared program with Nicolet College. We know that the Wisconsin Technical College system has been advocating for some legislative changes, so changing the statute to allow all 16 colleges to have that ability to offer liberal arts programming, because we believe that all of our students should have those equitable opportunities to pursue those programs, and not just those colleges that have, at this point, given statutory ability to provide those programs. So for those, because that's legislative changes have not moved forward, many of the technical colleges are moving forward on their own, going through the program approval process, and that's what we're recommending for Midstate. Northwood Technical College just went through this process, and they received approval for both their Associate of Arts and Associate of Science program. And in fact, they reported just last week, I think, Shelley, you mentioned this, that liberal arts is now their 4th top program, since they are conferring this themselves. They previously had shared it with Nicolet, but they have already seen their enrollments increase because they are conferring that degree and they can best meet the needs of their students in their district.
And Northwood Technical College was formerly known as Wisconsin Indian Head. So July 1, they had a name change. So you probably are not familiar with Northwood Technical College, but it would be Wisconsin Indian Head.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
they have statutory ability to confer the degrees? I thought they weren't one of the Correct.
They went through the program approval process and now they have that ability. So they went through the WTCS board twice, right, to their board, to the WCS board twice, and then to the Board of Regents and got approval.
And that's exactly, this is the first step for us to do that.
Got
Chuck.
it.
So they went to their board and then they went to the state board and so forth.
And if it
So-
was approved statutorily for the rest of us, we wouldn't have to go through that approval.
We wouldn't have to
process.
go through that process, right? But because the legislative process isn't moving forward, we don't want to wait.
Got it.
Because we think this is important from a student-centeredness standpoint for our students. Gateway Technical College is working with UW Parkside, and NTC is working with Purdue Global on that approval process. So just to let you know, we are not the only ones working through this. So as I mentioned, we've had a partnership with Nicolet College since 2017 to offer the shared liberal arts program. So students can take 30 credits here at Midstate and 30 credits at Nicolet College to get their liberal arts degree, okay? Our enrollments have increased every year since we've started. We initially had 11 students back in 2018. We have 122 students in FY21. So again, we've seen a huge demand for that program, but also realize that because of some of the challenges that students face being duly enrolled in two colleges, right? So they have to be enrolled here, they have to be enrolled at Nicolet College. There are the financial aid things that have to be worked out between the colleges. They have advisors at both colleges. They have different learning management systems at both colleges. There's just a lot of hoops that our students have to go through with it being a shared program. I'm glad that we were able to do that because we did meet that need, but we really believe that we would like to offer this ourselves and be able to reduce those barriers for students and better serve our students in our district. This degree also supports Wisconsin's 60 Forward initiative, which really speaks to the number of residents in Wisconsin that have an associate degree. And we know that in our Portage County and Adams County, we are less than the state average. So again, this will help to bring that number of associate degree earning residents by offering the liberal arts. We also know through our data analysis that we have in-district residents who are going to other colleges, other technical colleges for the liberal arts program. And in fact, in FY20, there were 107 residents in our district who were taking this program at another college. Again, that shows me that we're not meeting the local need, and we need to do something about that. So we're interested in moving forward with the concept approval phase of the program approval process. So this is step one. So it starts here with me sharing with the information with you. If you approve, it goes to the state board. And then there's a step two, which is a program approval process, which again goes here, goes to the state board. And then there is that additional step with UW Board of Regents needs to approve it. So this is the first step. If approved, we would come back to you in a couple months for that program approval process. Even though it's not needed for this stage or this step in the process, we have been working with two partners. First of all, UW Stevens Point is our preferred partner. They're our four-year partner right in Stevens Point, not far from our Stevens Point campus. And we're having conversations with them to set up an MOU or an articulation with them, which would be a required part of this program approval process. And we're also one of 7 technical colleges working with Lakeland University. And again, Lakeland is right here on our campus in Wisconsin Rapids. We have to have an MOU to get approval. After we get that MOU, we can set up a number of MOUs and articulations with other four-year partners for specific pathways if we choose to do that. And we would like to do that because we believe our students need different opportunities, different options for them to choose if they want to go down that liberal arts route. The students would be eligible for financial aid. We would use operational dollars. We may need some capital dollars that we would budget in our typical capital budget allocation. Things that we may need would be maybe some additional science equipment for some of those higher level science courses. Our faculty are currently HLC qualified to teach the upper level liberal arts courses, the gen ed courses. So we would ask our full-time faculty and maybe some part-time faculty to teach those additional courses. We would pay for the curriculum development through our operational budget. And we would hope to be able to start these programs in fall of 22 or at the latest spring of 23. Are there any questions about either, again, liberal arts, there's two programs, the Associate of Arts and the Associate of Science. No, I'd like two, one for each. It would be 60 credits. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, and that would be part of that articulation or that MOU that our students would transfer in at junior status.
That's why it's so key, Ari, you're asking that really crucial question, because we believe our students should have that right. And this is that being able to, that person who knows they're going to transfer, they know they want to go to UWSB for their bachelor's right away. It gives that high school student or that adult person who's coming in to get that associate degree to have that seamless pathway.
Right. They'd come in at junior status and they'd have also the benefit of paying the lower tuition. Right, so it's a more affordable option for our students.
I'll go ahead and second that. Can I get a roll call, please?
Kristen Kress,
Yes?
Scott Groholski,
Yes.
Richard Murden,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
And I'll make a motion to approve the concept approval for liberal arts associate of science degree.
Second.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Kristen Kress,
Yes?
Scott Groholski,
Yes.
Richard Murden,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that approval. And as I mentioned, I'll be back in a couple months for the program approval process. So this is definitely a good thing for our students. So thank you. The next program that I wanted to talk with you about is our Business Analyst Associate Degree Program. This is a currently offered. It was approved in March of 2017. It's a 63 to 64 credit fully online program that we started back in 2017. The program prepares individuals to work closely with stakeholders to identify business needs and offer opportunities for improvements in systems and workflow. So that's kind of that program description. At the time the program was approved, so back in 2017, the labor market data that we need in order to justify a new program start showed that there would be 36 job openings within 3 years, which would have been 2020, and 60 within 5 years, which would have been in 22. Okay. When we look at our current labor market data today, it shows that the Mid-State District is experiencing a growth rate far less than the national average when it comes to individuals with this skill set. And it's projected that there would be 25 job openings in our district by 2026. Okay, so initially there would be 60. What we're finding today is that those job openings, really, there's only about 25 job openings through 2026. Okay, and 56% of those job openings will require a bachelor's degree. So not even an associate degree. So that comes out to about 11 job openings, right, in the next 5 years. Far short of the 60 that we believe to be true when the program was started. We conducted an employer survey just to find out what was happening in their industry. So we sent a survey out to 42 potential businesses. We received 21% back who responded. One employer mentioned that they projected job openings of 1 to 4 within their company by 2026. Additionally, 3 of them said that they would require an associate degree, 3 required a bachelor's degree. So again, they really confirmed that there really isn't labor market demand for graduates of this program. Since starting this program in 2017, enrollments have been very low. In fact, we've had to run some classes with 1, 2, or 3 students at the most in the core classes. We've had 2 students graduate from the program, 2 students who were enrolled in the program but haven't taken any core classes for business analyst and have selected other programs. And we have 2 students who will finish the business analyst core courses this academic year. So it was really a good time for us to take a look at it from a student impact standpoint. We did hold an advisory committee of the Business Analyst program in September 8th, and we talked about this information that we found, the information that they provided, and they did recommend that we suspend the program. So what that means, if we suspend the program, we have to make sure that we take care of the students currently enrolled in the program, right? That is our obligation and our commitment to those students. And those 2 students will complete those core courses this academic year, okay? The program courses were taught by a part-time faculty, so we have no impact on any of our full-time contracted faculty. So due to the lack of interest in the program and the low job demand, I'm asking the board to consider making a motion to suspend the program. When we suspend a program, it remains in that state of suspension for 3 years. And during that time, we can reevaluate. So when it gets to that 2.5-year time, 2-year time frame, we'll take a look at it again. If things have changed in the labor market, we definitely can take a look at that and see if we need to bring it back, or we take the step to discontinue it. Are there any questions about that?
Okay, I would move to suspend the Business Analyst AAS program.
I'll second it. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Kristen Krass,
Yep.
Scott Groholski,
Yes.
Richard Merton,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The next program I want to talk to you about is Electrical Power Engineering Technician. This is a 61 credit in-person associate degree program that was first approved in September 1979. So a long time ago, 1979. The program prepares individuals to maintain energy systems that harness fossil, hydro, and nuclear energy sources. This program is unique to the WTCS. Western and Lakeshore discontinued their programs in 1990 and 2013. So they had similar programs. They've since discontinued them. Over the past 5 years, the numbers of the students have declined, and currently we have 4 active students in the program. We did the same thing that we do anytime we're looking at a program. We did a needs assessment looking at the job market data, and we found that there are 48 jobs in the district, so 48 people currently working in this industry in our district, and no job postings. Okay. In the state, there are nearly 1,500 jobs, and there are 10 job openings. So what that means is that for our graduates, for them to get a job, they most likely would have to move out of district and potentially out of state to get a job in their field, which as a WTCS college, our commitment is we prepare the workforce to work in our district. So it's something that we take very seriously. We had an advisory committee meeting that took place in February of this year, and they expressed that power plant operators and meter reader positions, which are prepared by this program, are phasing out, and that the industry is changing to a more concentration on power distribution rather than power generation. And the advisory committee did recommend suspending the program. So again, due to the lack of jobs and low enrollment, I'd like to recommend that the board approve suspending this program as well. Again, we have the 3 years to reevaluate and bring it back. Again, we have 4 active students in the program. All 4 of them are on pace to complete the program this academic year. We have 1 full-time faculty in this program, and this faculty has communicated with Midstate regarding his plans to retire at the end of this year. So again, no impact to our current full-time faculty if we were to suspend the program.
I'll make a motion to suspend the electrical power engineering technician program.
I'll second that.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Kristen Krass,
Yes.
Scott Groholski,
Yes.
Richard Merton,
Yes.
Linnea Miller,
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that's not always easy, but I want to assure you that we look at all the data. We connect with the students. We want to make sure that we're making the right decisions. And I think based on the enrollment and the lack of job demand, we had to look at those 2 programs. The last item is informational. And this is related to our advisory committee membership list. So in the Wisconsin Technical College, each program or similar program areas must have a program advisory committee. And the purpose of the advisory committee is to give us feedback, advise us on the industry skills needed and the curriculum needed. And then twice a year, I provide you with a list of the advisory committee members so that you can take a look at who is on our advisory committee, committees. So I have 3 schools that I'm sharing with you tonight: the School of Health, the School of Protective and Human Services, and the School of Business and Technology. So a few years ago, I shared with you some criteria that I use as new applications come in. And those criteria include that the committee member represents our district, right? So they're in our district, or there's a reason if they're out of district why they would be involved with our program. We may select them if they represent a particular campus area or geographic area within our district where we need to have a member. They represent either the employer member status or an employee member status. It could be business size. Again, we want a variety of business sizes represented on our committee. Diversity is another criteria that can provide a specific expertise to our program area. And then whether or not they're an alumni or a student. So for the new members, I looked at these criteria and all of them met the criteria for being part of the committees. So we've made substantial progress over this past year in updating our committee memberships. We added actually 52 new members to programs within these 3 schools, and we've renewed 77 members. All of those, the new and the renewed, are indicated in green. Okay. Overall, we have 200 advisory committee members represented for these programs in these 3 academic schools. We've made progress in adding members from the greater Adams community, except in the area of business and technology. So that is an area that I'll be working with the leadership in that school to see if we can get more participation from the Adams Friendship area. The other area we're continuing to recruit from are, diverse membership, as well as the employee status. You'll notice that we have, particularly in the School of Business and Technology, we have more employer status, so more people that hire and fire and that executive leadership from companies rather than employees who work there. And it could be a matter of, they can't be released, from the job potentially to attend meetings. But continuing this year to have a hybrid format for advisory committee meetings so they can attend in person or they could attend virtually. And with a hope that we'll gather more participation from our members. So we'll continue to focus on those areas this year. And then my plan then, as I did last year, is in the spring, January, February, I would bring to you the other 2 academic schools for you to take a look at.
And if you recall a few years ago, Deb, I applaud your efforts. This is really good. If you remember, we used to actually, you as the board made the decisions, you may recall, as to where we kind of, gosh, what would be maybe a good process improvement. So Deb took that on and worked with the academic deans, but we had shared that we would bring it to you twice a year so you could actively see that we're always trying to grow our advisory committees. And I loved your numbers, and I'm sure the board did as well, Deb. It just shows that you're really making some very concentrated efforts. So hopefully you have felt that this is a good process improvement. So again, not that you're approving this, you can see it's an informational item, but you know that we're actively doing it. So
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, we'll move on to the Human Resources and External Relations Committee with Linnea Miller.
Thank you, Kristen. We only have one informational item, and that is an update on the Manufacturing Center campaign with Dr. Bobby Damrow.
Good evening, everyone. Just an informational item. We launched the public campaign last Friday on September 17th. We had 32 of our financial contributors, which we call our founding partners, attend a big tent event in the Stevens Point campus parking lot. Just to kind of put that in perspective, currently we have 53 folks that have contributed money to this project. We have 14 partners that are under 2,500, from 100 to 2,500. None of those partners were able to attend. Many of them were out of the area. They were part of our Wisconsin Vegetable and Potato Growers Association sub-campaign. We had 5 partners that couldn't attend, just conflicts, and we had 32 with us. So wonderful turnout with a lot of very committed donors for our project. Early that morning, we had received word that McCain Foods approved a $200,000 sponsorship. So that was a very bright spot in our morning. This was a collaboration between their Plover and Wisconsin Rapids plants. So collaborations abound throughout this whole project in many ways. We're excited to have them on board. We also received a call that morning from Donaldson saying we're not exactly sure how much the money is going to be. We've got a foundation meeting coming up, but we can tell you that we want to be in, and we want to be in today. So we're going to commit to $5,000. We know it's more than that amount, but please include us in your launch. So they were also recognized as a founding partner that day. We had also received actually a word from Alliant Energy about 10 o'clock the evening before that foundation was coming in for $10,000. So we had a really nice, exciting opportunity for that morning. So that brought us to a total of about $5,265,000 going public to our launch. You'll see in your package, yes, you'll see the list of folks. We just momentarily ago, I just received notice that we had 2,500 more coming in from Roberts Irrigation and Plover as part of the Wisconsin Wisconsin Vegetable and Potato Growers Association. So we're starting to get some smaller contributions. That project was a match, and the Wisconsin Potato Vegetable Growers came forth and said, hey, members, let's do this, and let's do this right. So they're at about 70,000 right now. They're trying to bring in about 100,000. So they're doing their own thing, and we very much appreciate that. One of the additional highlights of our day, obviously, Kurt Bauer, the CEO of Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, was a keynote speaker. So he shared a lot about the workforce and how Industry 4.0 is important. And I think we've got a clip, if you haven't seen it, on the Channel 7 News. We had two flights, we call them. We had a 6 p.m., I think, and a 9 p.m., or a 5 and a 9 p.m. So I think we can pull that video clip up.
Need one moment, Bobby.
Sure.
Reset here.
You'll see the press release. We just finished our media release, got some photography, some quotes all finalized today. So you'll probably see that. I'm hoping it's going to be a pickup in tomorrow's news.
Time can be reduced to 10 if you don't show any symptoms. Unvaccinated people do not need to quarantine unless they were to develop symptoms. Mid-State Technical College is celebrating a major milestone in its campaign for a new advanced manufacturing, engineering, technology, and apprenticeship center in Stevens Point. So far, Mid-State has raised $5 million of the $9 million needed. The Mid-State president says the center will help the state's economy.
We are a college that's been around for 100 years, and I think they know that we're a pretty good return on investment, but we want to do our part. We need to do our part on the workforce shortage and making sure that we keep central Wisconsin strong and the state of Wisconsin.
With so much manufacturing going on in the city and the surrounding area, this is going to benefit us, as I said, for generations.
The $5 million raised officially launches the public phase of this campaign. Today, Governor Tony Evers attended.
So I'd like to thank Kristen, Betty, Rick, and Chuck for being there, Ari as well. Just attending the event not only shows your commitment to the project in a very visible way, but really was heartwarming for our faculty and for our teams to see you there. So thank you for being there. Thank you for continuing to support this. It was a wonderful show of support. We have a number of project meetings this week coming up, or prospect meetings, I should say. We're working on multiple grants. One is pretty sizable. We have discussions with Canadian Railroad that those continue on. And I guess what my message to you again this month is that the path to reality is alive and well. And for some of us, especially me, patience continues to be a virtue because we're so excited with each and every one of these contributors that come on board. But it takes a long time to build relationships and tell our story. And, we're asking for large sums of money. So it requires boards and thoughtful consideration by our folks. So what's next? We're going to continue to meet with these prospects. We've received referrals from our day event last Friday, so we're following up on all of those. We're going to you'll see more of a visible campaign right now. We have social campaigns. We'll be featuring 2 of our partners every week with their pictures that we've taken and just a little bit about the project. You'll see a yard sign campaign. So we'll be getting yard signs to any of you that want them. They just haven't arrived yet. We have our partner website. We've asked if some of our partners would be able to link, because if you go to our partner page on our website, we now have a give button, and that give button goes right to our foundation, and folks can give right online, and it kind of goes right through the foundation. We're going to be meeting tomorrow. We're going to be talking about alumni and a quiet staff campaign as well. Grant writing continues. We're going to continue to work on the project details, the back side of it, right? One side is really getting the funding to do this, but we can't do this in a vacuum. So, obviously we're working on things like the environmental pieces of the property, the construction project planning that we talked about last meeting, and we have a draft now of what we would consider an RFP. So we're kind of finalizing some of those pieces. The programming, Deb and her team has been working on that, as well as the sustainability plan. Because when we say go, we're going to go, and it's going to last us for 100 years, right? So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'll leave that. I'll conclude my remarks. I will give you updates maybe going forward on a monthly basis if there's good stuff happening. So if there's any questions for me, I would love to field them.
I would just like to say thank you, because as I've said before, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this, and it's just tremendous. So thank you so much.
Yep.
You're very welcome.
I just want to say it was a fun luncheon. It was a real positive energy. You could just feel the real good vibe, the whole thing there. Everybody was this is a good experience we had.
I've told that joke about 4 or 5 times.
One with the attorney?
Yeah. Well, I think everybody heard it.
Yeah, it was good. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Okay, so then we'll move on to the Committee of the Whole report. We met earlier this evening. During the Committee of the Whole this evening, we welcomed our new members, Scott Graholski and Ari Vang, to the Mid-State Board of Directors. Both of them provided introductions. Scott was appointed as the additional member with his term ending June 30th, 2023. He is the owner-president of the Point of Beginning in Stevens Point. Ari was appointed as the employee member with term ending June 30th, 2022. She's the human resource manager at McCain Foods in Plover. Appointments for Scott and Ari were confirmed during the WTCS board meeting held last week. Both completed their oath of office prior to the meeting this evening. Welcome both of you to Mid-State. I'm glad to have you. Okay, then we'll move on to our discussion and action items with Craig Bernstein, Workforce and Economic Development Annual Report. Hello, Craig.
Hello. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this evening. I know I'm the guy that's keeping you from concluding the meeting, so I'll try and be brief. You should have in front of you a couple different items. One is going to be our Workforce and Economic Development by the numbers handout. And that's going to give you a high overview of what's going on in workforce and economic development. Again, my name is Craig Bernstein. I'm the director of the Workforce and Economic Development Division. I oversee all of our lifelong learning here at the college. So that includes all of our continuing education programs, which are our community enrichment classes, our professional development classes, and then of course our workforce training. We also sneak our facility rentals into the Workforce and Economic Development Division as well. So the high level sheet, the workforce by the numbers, just to kind of give you an idea of what happened here in the 2021 fiscal year. Obviously, with the pandemic still happening, we were limited with the number of businesses that wanted to meet with us face-to-face and do some face-to-face trainings. But we were still able to serve over 752 employees that we trained through our workforce training, and those would be contracts we have with individual employers. And you can see that we did serve 58 employers with 85 unique contracts. That means that we had a few of our employers get some repeat business. Again, our satisfaction scores, 97%. We're either satisfied or very satisfied with the training on the post-course evaluations that we do. And we were able to save some employers $73,000 in those workforce advancement trainings grants. Continuing education, again, we had to pivot. We went from a lot of in-person courses to the online options. And we were able to offer 89 continuing education classes, serving over 1,100 students. And on the back of that sheet, you'll see some of those examples of some of the different courses that we offered, both in the training for workforce and the continuing education. Also in the packet there, you'll have our deeper dive of the annual report. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge Heather Slicht, who was our continuing education manager. She has resigned to pursue another opportunity with the college, but I just wanted to thank her for her dedication and courses and ability to really pivot our continuing education from in-person to online over the pandemic. So thank you, Heather, and good luck in your future endeavors. If you open up that more in-depth report, you'll see some of our district facility usage. As I mentioned, we snuck the contracts in there for the facility rentals. Again, with the pandemic, not a lot of opportunities to host things face-to-face, but we did have a few of those, estimated, again, 1,100 people in the that we had brought here on campus. Again, continuing education went from more of that in-person to more of that online. One of the unique things that we're able to do here is really partner with some organizations that we probably wouldn't have considered before, such as the Smithsonian Institute, the National Park Service, Canada's Royal Botanical Gardens, and the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So really some unique creative opportunities for our community to pursue those continuing education courses. You'll see the key metrics there. Again, with the customized training at the bottom of the page there, we did bring in over $2,500, or excuse me, $250,000 in revenue. Again, roughly $28,000 of that through the workforce advancement training grants. Again, serving 1,100 in that workforce, excuse me, the continuing education, and then the FT count there you'll see as well. And then finally, I'd just like to mention, if you also should have on your packets, the Something for Everyone, the new flip book, or the new catalog for our education, continuing education courses. Definitely please share that with people that you know, and if you have an opportunity, take advantage of some of those great courses that we have out there. So that was my really quick, brief overview. Of course, we did face some challenges with the pandemic, but this year is already shaping up to be a great year. What I've noticed is a lot of employers are taking advantage of some of those workforce training grants that are out there, specifically the Fast Forward grant. We are working with a company in Stevens Point right now, and there is a new opening for the Fast Forward grant available. So we are looking at some of those options as well. Is there any questions I can answer? Does anyone have any?
Do you have someone lined up to take Heather's position yet, or is that just?
I just currently, this afternoon got word that we are hiring. That person accepted and all the paperwork went through. So I will have a new workforce and professional development consultant joining our team starting next week, Monday already. We're taking a look at that education manager position and looking at how we can streamline that and fold that into the division to maybe break down some of those silos between continuing education and workforce training to make that more streamlined. So This workforce consultant that'll be joining our team will be looking at those professional development opportunities that we have that we can offer through open enrollment and what workshops and conferences that we should be putting out. And that'll be part of his new duties. And then we also do have a posting out right now for a workforce and professional development associate position, which is going to handle a lot more of that back end logistical planning. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I'll let you conclude your meeting so you can get out of here.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, can I get a motion in a second to adjourn?
Okay,
Can I get a motion in a second to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second if he needs one.
Great.
So moved.
Okay,
Go Pack, go.
wonderful. We'll have you, Mike, go ahead and turn that off. Hi, Linnea. Go Pack, go. I'll be thinking of you when they get that big win.